Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I believe this is Thursday, August the 8th. This will be our chart lesson today. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Unfortunately, it's been a crazy week for me, but I want to demonstrate a trade here. I don't know if it's going to trigger or not, but this is how I do. People always ask me, how do you enter these traps and how do you trade them? Well, notice here that we've got a new low, we've got a first entry short, we got a pullback, and we got a second entry short, and prices are trying to go higher. There we go. So if prices turn up before we reach this triggered the second entry short when it broke lower right here. So if prices turn and break higher before they reach a 4-tick scalp, then the odds are it's going to be a trap if it goes higher, and it's probably going to be good for a scalp. So I'm going to try to scalp out. I'm going in with 3 contracts. I'll try to scalp out 2, and I'll try to hold 1 for a runner. And what I'm looking for prices to most likely do is make another measured leg here, probably to the upside if we go higher. So let's just get a little measured. Let's measure our distance here. You see, I almost got it pretty close right there. So I would look for prices to go to this line before they find resistance. If we break higher, we may not break higher. We'll just have to see. If it doesn't trigger and it goes lower, then I just cancel my order and I'll look for the next trade. But the reason I liked it going higher here, we still got this trend line that concerns me a little bit here, but generally these traps, if they trigger, they're good for at least a scalp. So I'm willing to risk it here, even if we're going to come back down and test this low. If the trap triggers, I figure we'll break the trend line here. It may not trigger, but if it does, I'm going to record it, and we'll go from there. And if we end up getting a scalp out of it first, then I'm going to cancel this, and it looks like we're going to go lower. So, which is not completely surprising, because this is a second entry short on a pullback to the trend line. But we've had a big move down, and I see 3 legs. Notice that there are 3 measured legs, and this was your original channel right here. And I circled this trade while we're waiting to see if something's going to happen here. Let me show you this. At least 2 people asked me about this trade. Why did this fail? Well, the reason it failed is it's just a move down. The move up, I saw that this line was obvious right here. I mean, you see that, and then all I did was drag it down to the low side right down here. And so I found this line off the top. So I was looking for prices to bounce there. And if you bought here on this break above this bar, you got a scalp out of it. It worked. It was not a failure. But if you bought here, it's a failure. Well, guess what? That's just halfway down. And what I'm assuming, I haven't even put it on there, there's a little midpoint in here. And there you can see it. It's right in there. There's that little 50, that what I call the median line is right there. And all that was, we broke through, we pulled back and tested it, and we went lower. So if anything, you should have been looking for a bounce here or here, not here in the middle. This is just in the middle of no man's land. You see this trap is still trying to trigger over here, and it looks like it's probably going to trigger. So that's the reason I had that circle, because I wanted to talk to you about it. But once we broke through here, measure this and bring it down here and look for something to happen there. And then we went right through it, but we tested it on the underside, and then guess what? It starts lower again. So guess where the next possibility is? Another measured. And if you measure the distance between all of them, they're even. So now we're long on this trap, and hopefully you see that. You got a new low, first entry short, pull back, second entry short. It fails. We go higher, and now we're headed higher. And depending on how we end up coming up here, I may just completely scalp out of this, go ahead and tighten it up. But I'm going to hang on in case we do come to the upper side of this channel here. We'll see what happens. But there is a lot of overlap here, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't pull back first and then go higher. But you can't, if you wait for that to happen, you may miss the trade. So you just about have to enter on the trap, which is one tick above any of the previous bars. If that happens before you get the 4-tick scalp down here, then that's a failure. And you see it's failed and it's still trying to go higher. So let's just see what happens. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to right here because I know we're going to find resistance right here at the very least. And so if we get that far, we'll exit there. And I'm guessing I'm going to end up having to tighten this one on up because we're probably going to find resistance right here and turn back down again. But hopefully you understand how that triggered and why I took it and how I entered it. And why I liked it. And hopefully this one makes sense to you here, why we didn't want to take this trade. It looks like 2 legs down, and it is, but it's just the first leg and a bigger move is all that is. We were headed down here to test this trend line right here, and if you entered there, it worked. You didn't get anything but a scalp, but you didn't get a loser, which you probably got right there. And this, if you were looking at this like a 2-legged move and it failed here and you see that's a trap, then you want to reverse right there and you would have got it all back on the scalp going the other way. You probably would have ended up making a tick or two in the end. But this was the trade of the morning right here. Could have ridden this all the way to the low. I mean, that was a heck of a move. And you see we are backing up a little bit here. And this could fail. I could get trapped to the upside. We'll see what happens here. But it doesn't surprise me that we're pulling back and kind of retesting that. It usually acts like a little breakout pullback. I haven't tightened my stop yet, but I may tighten my stop if it doesn't work out as well. So, but I don't want to slide it up there too quick and get stopped out just as it's going where I think it's going to go. So, in fact, what I'll do is I'll bring it 2 ticks below. Well, that's where I got it. I'll bring it 1 tick below that, which is 2 ticks below this little bar here. But I'm guessing we're probably going to get a scalp out of this. The way this is looking now, I'm really thinking about scalping out incomplete because it's going to, if it goes straight up, it's barely going to get through my limit order. But sometimes those traps will just keep on going. So you got to be, you don't want to sell yourself short, but at the same time, you want to play the trade smart. You don't want to. We'll just let it play out here. While we're waiting on that, let me see if there's anything else we can discuss. But yeah, this seemed to throw off a lot of people right here. It was obvious this was your trend line. I mean, look at that. Just draw your line there and then find out where it fits. It does kind of fit there, but look, what's all this down here? So you got to figure it's down here somewhere. And the only other thing that I saw, you might have even looked at it, if you started from right here, there was your trend and your break and then you're a couple legs up. So even if you looked at it like that, you could have looked at it like that right there, but we never got a retest that way, and it doesn't really fit very well. It doesn't fit at all on the top, and it doesn't really account for these moves. If you use the closes here, let's just see what happens if we use the closes. Yeah, now that fits. Things don't really fit too well on the upside, but they definitely fit on the low side, and you see you got your break there and you move to a new high. So That's got some validity to it there too, but I believe it was this right here. And you can see it's coming to play, the measured moves all the way down. So all right, come on, buyers. We're 10 minutes into this and we've gone nowhere so far. Usually these traps will take on off, but a lot of times they like to pull it back one more time. And really we broke through this side and we didn't come back and test it, but you see we pulled back there and now they're trying to take it up again. And that doesn't surprise me because this looks like congestion, and generally when you break out of it, it snaps back and tests it and before going higher. And the way this is looking, I'm really thinking I'm going to scalp out in. Come on, buyers. Very rarely do these traps fail. Every once in a blue moon one will fail, but it's rare. I'm going to go ahead and scalp out of this thing in full because we're going to find resistance here, I'm afraid. And so there's no sense in wasting that runner. Let me see, we're trying to go higher. Come on, buyers. Couple more ticks. There we go. We're bouncing off our order now. And there we go. And you see, at this point, it looks like I exited that perfectly. It got one tick through the line, and that's it. And that's generally, and I hear a lot of times people say, well, I took that trade and I let them shake me out right here. And, sometimes you just got to, you got to take on some risk, and or else you'll never make any money. Put your stop where it's supposed to go, and let the trade play out, and then iron it out later. But you see, at this point, that trade worked perfectly. I exited at the perfect place, so that made me $150 easy, and it's almost a sure thing every single time. Now, nothing's 100%. Everything will fail on occasion, but I can tell you it's very rare that one of those traps fails. And you can see it right here. This didn't move down very sharply, and then this didn't move down very sharply at all, and that led me to believe that, hey, we're going to get a break right here and probably go higher. And that's exactly what happened. But the main thing is this was a really strong move downward, and it was way overdone, so we were due for a correction too. But you can't guess. You got to wait for the setups. You can't just start buying down here on a move like this without getting burned, to be honest with you. So don't do that. You know, I was really playing these two lines coming down, but where I would expect to find the support was when we got to these areas. And those are just measured moves. And, you know, these lines work. So that's how I use them anyway. And if they help you, they help you. And if they don't, they don't. But one thing I see is somebody will send me their chart, and they got lines drawn all over the place, and they're not, and they have no validity, and, you know, they might have been a bounce off of it here or there. But don't draw so many lines that you get confused. I usually don't have all these lines on here. I add them as I'm looking for, you know, when we started going higher, I added it because I expected to find resistance there. So that's why, you know, and once we get through that, I may add another, but I'll start taking some of this stuff off if it starts cluttering my chart. So, you know, you got to be careful. You know, even though the lines are important and they help you know where to enter and where to exit, you can't clutter your chart up with useless lines and be scared, you know, where you're guessing. If you're guessing, then, you know, it's probably not right or something. So, and I know some of you struggle with that because I get your emails and you're asking why trades fail, or you were scared to enter a trade because it, you know, at the line and you watched it work perfectly, and then the next line it hits and you take the trade and it fails. And, you know, eventually one of them's always going to fail, just like right here. This one finally failed. But if you took the first couple of chances you got to enter it, then, you know, you're good. But what happens is people will watch all these moves all the way down, and they'll say, dadgummit, next time it comes back, which is right here, I'm taking it. And guess what? You got trapped to the short side right there. And I made, you know, when it hit your stop, I just took some of your money right there. And that's what the smart traders do. They're not hesitant when the setup comes. This was the setup of the day right here. I drew that off those bottoms, drug it up there, or pulled it up there. Somebody corrected me about my drug. I know I'm not supposed to say I drug it up there, but that's my southern roots and my southern accent. And, you know, you can correct me every day, and I'll probably say it again, but I pulled this line up here. Look at that reversal bar. You enter right there. Boom, because that's a failed second entry long. This one didn't really fail, but there's still that little double top in that trap right there at the trend line where you'd expect it. If you drew that off the top, you see that's a perfect touch. It touched that line reversed, and look at that move. You don't know it's going to do that, but you're planning on getting a scalp, and you see I probably exited my runner too soon. I should have held on to it and left it where I had it right below this line, and I probably would have got another few ticks out of it. But, you know, we don't always get every tick out of every move. If we just get most of it, we're going to be happy. And if not, we'll always get another chance to enter again later. So, but this is probably going to be our chart lesson for today. I'm going to go ahead and mark this in some odd color just because it's not a trade. I just want to talk about it. And I'll show you the other setups that I saw. I really didn't like this setup, although it's a good setup. I'm going to mark it, and I'll explain that one. Oops. I'm just making a mess over here. It broke lower first and then went higher. So there's a nice long there, and it is like a breakout pullback long. And there was a little failed break higher here, but you don't want to be short in this when it's all up there. You want to wait for the reversal pattern. And I guess that'll be a good thing that we can talk about right quick. Let me go ahead and notice how these highs were not going much further, and we finally had that little third push up here off this line, and it turns down, and guess what? It goes past this low. It goes even past this low. Well, that's not a good sign. Notice how coming up, all these highs are higher, all these lows are higher lows, and then finally you got a huge move down, and you got a lower low that's lower than the last two swings. That's after this little one tick failed break higher. And we'll just draw the line to make it easier to see. Some of this stuff is not that easy to see if you don't use if you don't put your lines on here. So we'll put a little line up there, and you can see that little one tick that went higher right there. Let me get this mess off there that I made over here. and then it turns down. You don't really want to short that, although you could. It's a very, very aggressive trade. The odds are we're coming to the other side, but look what would have happened if you shorted here. And this one might have even worked. But a lot of times you'll take these shorts and it'll jump right back up and it'll keep climbing up that line, just like right here. If you were, it'll do that up this line. So you got to be careful taking shorts. This one was a third push up, 1, 2, actually 1, 2, 3 right there, and there was a lower low here than right there, although that's not much of a pullback. So you might have considered shorting there, but it was real aggressive. But when we went all the way through here and made a lower low, and then we come back to the EMA and test it and turn down, you might have considered going short even there, because you got to figure we're coming down here if you found that trend channel. I would have used a limit order here to make sure you got enough room, but it would have worked. And then it pulls back, and then now you got a second entry long. It technically didn't fail, but it didn't go very far. And then you got that you got that double matching high again with that one tick, and look at it turn down right off that trend line based off getting it off these lows. And man, it was off to the races. So now you got a trap to help you enter, and you've got a reversal type pattern. So, and it's coming right off the trend line, and look at that move. And then this is a second entry short here. This is just like a little two-legged pullback to the EMA, so you got another chance to enter right here. Two-legged pullback to the EMA on a very bearish move, and then off it goes again. And it was tempting to enter here, but you've had too big a move and not much of a pullback. You got a new low, and then this is just a first entry, and it's not a very good setup. So wait on your second entry, which didn't come to here, and then again, it's not a very good setup. And you saw what I did. I waited by being patient. I didn't like that setup. I told myself this thing's fixing to fail, and so I waited. I could have gone ahead and gone short just in case, and then been ready to jump out when we got, when it did this, and you could have done that. But I wasn't in any hurry to enter. I'd already made really good money. So you saw what I did. I moved my stop to right here, got entered, and off I went. And we need to have this trend line on here so you know what's going on, because otherwise you're not going to know what's going on. And you want to stay with this trend line until it's not valid anymore. And it may be a little higher. It may actually be up there, but for now we'll put it right there. Put it right off the highs of that right there, and that seems to be holding up here, but we'll see. It may end up being a little bit higher. And that's how I do it. It's really, it's really that simple. And the biggest thing is that when you realize you've made a mistake, don't give it a 2-point stop if you've made it a mistake. But at the same time, I get so many traders that say, hey, I read it right, and it didn't go where I thought it was going to go quick enough, so I let them scare me out. You got to stay in the trade. Just tighten your stop to where it's supposed to be, and then let the trade play out and leave it at that. And the biggest thing is, I'll get emails from people, they're buying this thing all the way down. And then they finally figure out they're wrong buying. Then they start selling, and guess what? Then it's going the other way. And that's what happens to most of you. You got to be aggressive early, because eventually it is going to fail. And nothing lasts forever. At some point, every setup fails. So, but that's what I saw, and it's already been a great day. And I'm pretty much done. It's not even 11 o'clock today, but it's been a really good trading day, and this move right here and then putting another set on right here really worked out well, and those are two pretty good moves, but this was a sweet move right here. I can't remember how many points. I'll just tell you, I entered on a stop at 93, and I exited right in here, so just call it 89 at the worst, but I think it was 88.50 or 88.75. So that's an easy 4 points on several contracts, or you can do the math plus a scalp, multiple contracts. So that was a sweet trade, and then did it all over again right here. And this one, I exited just right at the line, and I didn't even wait for this one to overlap. I just exited when it touched that line, and it immediately bounced. So I think I got out of this one at a tick or so off the bottom when it bounced. I was hoping it would go through again, but usually once it goes through once like that, it's going to bounce after the next one. But you never know when you're going to get one of those days that prices just keep on trucking. And you can see if I'd have left my limit order right there where on that runner where I originally wanted to, I could have made another 3 tick. I got out, 1, 2. I would have made another 3 ticks. So, I gave up maybe 75 or no, $35 or so, but you times 2, so yeah, about $70 or so. But you can't, I always tell people, don't look back. Don't think what could have been or should have been, because all that does is lead you to bad decisions the next time. So this is 26 minutes worth. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm done for today. This is going to be our chart lesson 2. I guess I might as well go ahead and put your mark on there for that failed second entry, and leave that one at that. And I hope you had a good day. Why am I doing that? But it was a nice day for me, and I'm just going to call it a day and call it quits. I've already got this will be our video for today, and we'll see what happens the rest of the day. But if you're still trading, I hope you have a good day. I hope it makes sense how I draw these lines. Remember, all I did was just get a measured move. Draw your arrow from one side to the other. And I use this crosshair so I can get the line straight, so I know that I get a even measurement. And you see there's the next line, and you see there's actually this one's just a tad higher right there, and that's how I do it. And then you see it's worked every time. I mean, we went through there, but it still found resistance, and then it found it again on the next, or support rather, and then we found it again on the other one. It really got through and bounced and acted as resistance, but I characterize this as a support area because it's on the way down. And then it did the same thing here, and then we got this little trend channel working up. And I'd ignore everything else except this trend channel. I wouldn't say I would ignore it. You got to, I'd go ahead and draw the next one out, figure out where it's at, because there's a good chance we could go there. We've got a double top here at this important previous resistance kind of support area, and so you can't ignore it. But until this little channel is no good anymore, I'd stay with thinking long and forget the rest of it, because that's what seems to confuse people, is they don't know which line to pay attention to, but the most recent price action is the most important, and it's trending up right now, so you can't ignore that. Wait till you see a reversal pattern. Wait till you get a little break here and a retest. It may only retest the trend line, or it may retest and make a new high. But until you get a break of this and some kind of reversal pattern, keep thinking long. And that's what I do. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is almost 30 minutes worth. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.